how did you end up finding JCU and making that your four-year home?
Yeah, no. So from Buffalo, New York, originally from a very Italian family. My mother came when she was 20 years old, didn't speak English, and kind of blazed her own trail in that regard. Is a business owner in her own right, owned a salon and day spa that she opened. Couldn't graduate school because she didn't speak English, and just kind of made her way. So um, that was my like upbringing, right? And being from Italy, my grandfather lived with us, so we always had like wine on the table. It was always around, which was awesome. And my grandfather, just going back to like childhood really quick, because the story kind of is pretty funny.
Yeah.
He would always cut up peaches and soak them in his wine after dinner. And if we were like good, he would, when we were really little, he would like give us a peach that was soaked in wine. And we thought we were like the coolest, able to drink wine or have a taste of wine.
Yeah.
And that was like a big treat. So it was just always kind of around and in my family. Catapulting, I went to a public school actually. I just know that a lot of Jesuit high schools kind of migrate towards John Carroll out in Iroquois and Alma, New York. And I played sports, soccer, and I was a gymnast most of my life. Very serious, where I had to decide whether I wanted to pursue, the Olympics or have a life and go to college and find a career. And I had a few injuries, so I decided to kind of go the college route. But I went to John Carroll because they gave some financial aid for sports, soccer, and diving. And, college tuition is quite a lot of money. And John Carroll was amazing. I loved the visit. I enjoyed the people, a few people that were going there, and it just seemed like the right fit for me. So yeah, and found myself at John Carroll, and I went to pursue, my major was psychology, and I wanted to be a lawyer, ironically. So I wanted to do pre-law and major in psychology and go to law school afterwards. And tell me if I'm moving too fast, but went back home to go to the University of Buffalo, where I was working at a restaurant in Buffalo to pay off my student loans simultaneously, and got into wine and kind of got hit by that bug. I found myself going home studying about Chianti and the grape Sangiovese, and not so much towards the restitution. And I just would go down the rabbit hole and just got bit by the bug. And that's kind of when the sommelier was on the rise as a career for younger generations. It used to be that, pretentious French guy that would be in the suit with the Testament around his neck, like tasting other people's wine and, being a single guy and my whole life. To me, I thought, there's not a lot of sommeliers in the world. To become a master sommelier is extremely difficult. There's 220 master sommeliers in the world, give or take, and how many lawyers are there? So I thought that was so cool and so interesting, and decided that, I'm going to move to a bigger food and wine city and take this on. And I did. A friend of mine just dropped everything, and we, unbeknownst to the thoughts of my mother and father, of course, to leave a law career possibly behind to go study wine. And I got in with the greatest company at the perfect time in Lettuce Entertainment Enterprises. And they own probably upwards of 200 restaurants around the country. And I got in with a very luxury brand known as RPM, and helped them in their steakhouse in Chicago, and then bloomed with my tenure with them in Chicago.
You said you were kind of bit by the bug, when you had moved to the University of Buffalo. Was there like a certain moment or event that made you suddenly think, "Hey, I want to pursue a career out of this"? Like, was there a particular moment, or was it just, being so involved with what you were doing once you moved back to Buffalo?
Yeah, just being in that restaurant culture. I love interacting with people. I love service and hospitality. It's something that I thrive in, and then to be part of wine, which I could talk about for hours. Being, it is everything, right? It's meant to be enjoyed with family and friends. It is history. It's terroir. It's the essence of living. It's the art of civilization. It's really all encompassing, and to be able to, it's science. It's nature. It has the ability to just kind of touch every touch point in the world, really. And that plus connecting with people on top of it and being able to sell and drink this beautiful art made by others is very special. And I think there's a nuance and something romantic.
Yeah. So, some people may not be familiar with the term sommelier, and I would say most people are familiar with the term, but they may not know how one might become one. Can you kind of walk me through one? Well, I know what a sommelier is, but for those that might not be familiar, what is a sommelier? What does being a sommelier entail, and how does one become a certified one?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm sure if you asked 100 sommeliers, you'd get 100 different answers. Which is the great thing about the profession. In the short, it's a wine expert, and within that are a lot of different scopes. And I think the thing that some forget, especially when you're a sommelier in a restaurant working a dining room floor selling wine to guests, is that you're not just a wine steward. You are a busser, a runner, a host, a drink runner. You are the height of hospitality on any given day in any given restaurant. And you are there to make sure that service in general is at its peak, tip-top shape. When you go to a ballet, you are there for the dance and you are there to give the guest that experience. And maybe it's a little longer-winded than a wine expert, but in reality, you are the height of hospitality, and you are there to set an example for the rest of your staff in service and hospitality in general. And I think that kind of gets lost in the shuffle of wine sometimes. And in order to become a sommelier, there's a pretty rigorous examination process. If you'd like, you don't have to, of course. There's a few different governing bodies, kind of like the bar, with etc. The most notable is the Court of Master Sommeliers, which there is, I mentioned a little earlier in the interview, there is about 200 master sommeliers in the world. So a pretty rigorous examination. There are 4 levels: your intro, certified, advanced, and master. And for each examination, you go through a test in which, as the levels go on, they get extremely more difficult. Starting with certified, you do certified and advanced, you do a 3-day examination where each day is a different part. You do a theory written examination, one part. The second is you do a blind tasting portion where you have 25 minutes to deduce 6 wines, 3 whites and 3 reds, just by smelling and tasting them. And then you have a service practical as well, where you do service for master sommeliers, where you handle 2 tables and do wine service in a very stressful environment. That part for me is not fun, but if you ask again 100 sommeliers, some will say theory is the hardest, some will say blind tasting, and some will say service. But it's a rigorous exam, but a very, very fun, and they do a great job.
That's amazing. And I don't think a lot of people think about all that might go into, like really understanding and familiarizing yourself with all those different components. Like you said, some people might find one more difficult than the other. So are you a master sommelier, or are you
I am not. I'm pursuing my advanced sommelier right now. I've taken the test 2 or 3 times at this point. Incredibly hard. You have to pass every single portion in the same exam. Otherwise, you just start all over. So, I passed 2 of the 3 parts both times. And you just need to pass all 3 in the same setting. So I'll continue to strive for master. And again, it doesn't hinder many careers. Your career continues to progress.
Yeah.
But it's more of a personal goal at this point for me.
Yeah. Do you have to like fly out somewhere to take that test, or is it something that you can take there in Rochester?
No, so it's offered twice a year. The master's offered once a year. Advanced is offered twice, and you have the ability to fly to a certain part in the world. Usually it's St. Louis, Phoenix, or Dallas, one of those areas. And you spend your 4 days there going through practice.
pivoting a little bit, we've been using the term master uh, sommelier, and I'm going to pivot to the masters a little bit. I see you have
Yeah,
the national. I think it's
yeah,
a
we had a rep. I had a rep for the
you
phone
had a
game.
rep. That's awesome, man. Could you outline what it is exactly your role is there at Augusta for the tournament? Because if I'm not mistaken, Rory told me you started getting involved with that last year, and this is your second year doing what it is that you do. Can you kind of walk through what it is that you do?
I just want to touch on the Masters in general because it kind of all leads in that direction. But it's a incredible event, one of the greatest sporting events in the entire world. Some would say the greatest. And to put on, you just got to tilt your cap to Augusta National Golf Club for putting on this amazing event. They bring in 700 volunteers and thousands of people that do not work at AGNC every single year to put on this amazing feat. And they do it in a way that is so hospitable. They allow other professionals to come into their home and operate their dining rooms and their concessions and everything. And really, really something special to be a part of. And they get the best chefs from other clubs around the world, from Bethpage and from Kiwa and from you name it. They're there, and we're all under one roof for the first time, working in a place that's not ours, and they're able to operate this space kind of like a amazing show they just put on, and really, really cool to be a part of that, and an honor. And I just wanted to tip my cap to agency because it is something magical that they're able to accomplish. So over my tenure as the corporate wine and beverage director for RPM, you meet a lot of people in the industry and a lot of wine professionals working for a luxury brand in Chicago and Vegas and DC. And, they bring in 6 guest sommeliers to the Masters every year. The kicker is once you're in, you never leave. Once you have that invite, you hope to be invited back, and you are invited back every single year. So when they call you, you accept. It's tough
Yeah.
not to want to be part of this history, right? And so a friend of mine had a friendship with the beverage director of Augusta National, Josh Betts, and he needed a guy. Someone had dropped out, luckily for me, and I came running. So what we do at Augusta National as the sommelier team and beverage team is ultimately we are in charge of the members, their guests, and the players for wine service throughout the day, for lunch service, and for dinner service. When players come off the course or their families would like to drink wine, if the members of the guests would like to drink wine in any capacity, we're there for that service. Dinner service being very busy. They flat seat a 200 seat space all at once, basically. They sit within 30 minutes of each other, and we run around and we pour and are able, luckily, to pour the world's greatest wines to these amazing, amazing humans. The members of agency are titans of industry, really just salt of the earth people from all over. They understand that you have person who's never worked in your dining room serving you, and they bring in college kids from all over that serve them that week, and sommeliers from all over to serve them that week, and they, although they pay and they want and deserve the greatest service on the earth, they understand what's happening around them in that week, and they are just so kind and generous to us to be able to do these things and to provide great hospitality service to them, even though we've never stepped into it.
That's amazing. And people, it's their dream to go to Augusta National just to either watch a practice round, watch a round. Obviously, you guys are working really hard. May not get the chance to necessarily watch as much golf as you are doing service and hospitality and such, but what's it like? I mean, I'm under the assumption that you're at the Masters for the entire week, working the service and the hospitality. Just what's it like to, be there for a full week and maybe what day do you arrive there to prepare? Because, you know, some golfers might get there a week in advance and play a couple practice rounds here or there. I'm assuming there's a lot of work that goes into preparing for what you guys do.
Yeah, again, I can speak very highly of AGNC and their staff uh, for hours as they just get everything really ready for all these foreigners, workers to come into their space and operate. But we're there as a sommelier team. We're there 10 days out. So we're there for 10 days at a time. We're there for the women's events, the drive, chip, and putt. We're there for all the practice rounds, and then of course the tournament. So we get there, almost a week and a half prior to Masters Sunday, and they are, they take care of our travel and whatnot, and put us up in a hotel and make sure that we're taken care of. There's something to be said about, again, I will keep saying, other sporting events, what the Masters and Augusta National really puts above all else is guest experience. If you've ever had the ability to attend this amazing event, it is truly amazing. And they put guest experience above all else. From how picturesque and beautiful they make the grounds, how affordable they make the concessions and delicious they make the food for the patrons, how accessible they make everything to you, down to the no cell phones, which some people I'm sure don't love, but in a world where people are on their cell phones all the time, you really get to sit back and appreciate how beautiful everything is and how amazing the golf is, and really connect with the people you go with. And I think that's what the draw is. And on top of that, they extend the exact same hospitality to the workers. Where guest experience is above all else, they take and treat us with the utmost respect, and I think that's why I continue to go back. Obviously for the golf, but also for the hospitality that they pass on to us as workers.
I always love every year when they show the Masters is you see the people on the 18th green on the back side. They're waiting for that scoreboard to change when they see
Oh,
the.
absolutely.
It could, I was talking to my dad the other day. I'm like that's their television. Like the television is static, or like those lines, whatever, are on the TV, and then they take the numbers off, they put the numbers on, and it's like when Rory double bogeyed, everybody's groaning, and then he
Crazy.
yeah, it's awesome.
It's almost electric to watch the scoreboard change in real time than it is to watch an amazing approach on 18. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, Luke, what is amazing, again, I'll sing the praises constantly about Augusta National and the Masters, is they understand empathy in the way that they understand. It's like a guest walking into your dining room for the first time. You don't know what they have done to get to you, or what has happened before they got to you. They understand how much ticket prices are. They understand the traffic. They understand housing difficulties when you come to Augusta National for an event that is so large. They take all that, and they hope that the moment you step foot on the grounds, it's the greatest sporting event you've ever seen, and they take great care of you as a patron and us as. I think that's just an amazing one.
Is part of, now obviously you said you're there 10 days in advance of the tournament, where like the drive, chip, putt, women's tournaments going on. Do you have anything to do with the champions dinner that gets hosted every year?
Yeah, we help set up for the dinner. We polish and help set the table. We give that honor to Augusta National employees, as it is very well deserved, who work the grounds 364 days of the year. But we assist in anything we can. Obviously, we get the wines ready, we get the table set, and a lot of the players don't really necessarily drink that day anyway, because they're playing for the most part. But from what I've heard, it's a beautiful thing. Again, it's history. It's tradition like any other.
So if somebody were attending, like you said, you help serve, members, players, what have you. What would be like a sample drink order, if you will, that you guys would have to help prep?
Um, Augusta National really has the world's best wine list and the world's best wines on it. So it can be anything from great white Burgundy to first growth Bordeaux, amazing Cabernet. So really hard to find and tough to acquire models. And that's it. That is what the members drink and what they enjoy for the most part. They're also doing a lot of hosting, right? They host their guests, so they put their best foot forward. I'm sure they drink those wines on the regular, but they also, again, are showing their guests, and if a player is their guest, the best they can.
Have you bumped into Carroll alumni recently? Maybe not necessarily on Augusta National grounds, but just like you were in Chicago, I think you said, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
now in Rochester. Have you had contact with JCU alums at all?
Yeah, of course. My core best group of guy friends are John Carroll graduates, people that stood up in my wedding, people that I continuously give wine recommendations to when they are out to dinner are all John Carroll.
That's awesome. My last question, I always end this, whether we do I do a couple different spotlights. Like I do ones that might go on YouTube. I do ones that might go in the newsletter. We occasionally do some that go in our magazine that gets sent out to alums. I think this one is going in the newsletter. So again, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I always end with if you have any advice for John Carroll students. Obviously, you have an awesome story, awesome career path. And there's always students that are seeking direction and finding their path at John Carroll. Do you have any advice for them as they get set to go forth? Or we got a class graduating here next month.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question. But what I would say is probably something that most say when you ask that question is don't be scared. Don't be afraid to, if things don't go the way that you plan on your journey through your careers. If things change, don't be afraid to take the leap, like from going a lawyer to being a sommelier or wine expert. But when you do, just jump in with both feet and hit the ground running. And be kind. Be kind to anyone and everyone because you don't know who you're talking to, who will help propel you into the apex of your career. Just be a kind human, just like John Carroll has always taught us to be. And I can't stress that enough.